Welcome to Beyond Six Figures, the podcast that helps business coaches to micro-niche, get noticed, and become fully booked. Learn from top industry leaders who've successfully taken their businesses and their lives beyond six figures. Get ready to level up your coaching business and make this world a better place, one business at a time. And now, here's your host, Ziv Raviv.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Six Figures. Our guest today is Jody Maberry, also known as the Business Ranger, a former financial analyst and Washington State Park Ranger turned marketing consultant, podcasting expert, copywriter, and customer experience strategist. Jody built multiple award-nominated podcasts, has produced over 1,300 episodes with nearly 3 million downloads, and works with executives and brands, including Disney, the FBI, Tennessee State Parks, and Morgan James Publishing. He's behind the Park Leaders Show, Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockerell, and the Jody Maberry Show. Today, we will explore how he helps business owners turn podcasts into lead generation engines and customer retention tools. Hello, Jody Maberry.
Wow. Hello, Ziv. It's great to be here with you.
It's a pleasure. Your work in the realm of podcasting really caught my attention because we have the same ideas about the power of podcasting. But before we go into that, tell us a little bit about the story of how did you get to produce all this work, all these podcasts that were downloaded 3 million times. That's a lot of people listening to your voice.
Well, and I actually haven't updated my numbers in a while. I've done more than 2,600 episodes now. And last time I looked, it was at a couple million at least to the downloads. It's been fantastic. Wow. And the way I got there, I had been a park ranger. You mentioned that in the intro. And when I left parks, I went back to school to get an MBA. And I had all this great leadership stuff that I learned in business school. And I wanted to find a way to bring it back to parks, but not be a park ranger again. And I discovered podcasting. And I'll give a little bit on how that happened. I reached out to a friend who was a podcaster, Jared Easley. He had the show Starve the Doubts. And I said, Jared, I have a guest I recommend for you. And he said, I'll do it as long as you come and be the guest host. And I was terrible. Jared was so good at podcasting and I was terrible. This was in 2013. But he kept asking me back to be a host, a co-host. And I realized this is what I was looking for as a way to bring leadership back into parks. Podcasting could be it. So in 2013, I reached out to 6 people in parks that I knew that I thought we could have some really good conversations about parks. I recorded those episodes and I thought, I can't release these. I sound terrible. I don't know what I'm doing. And I sat on them all the way until April of 2014. And I finally got over myself and I released those episodes. And that started me down this 10 plus year journey on podcasting that the Park Leaders Show led to Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockerell, because I wanted to talk to someone from Disney about what can national parks and state parks learn from Disney, because they're both parks, they're both service. What can we learn? I found the book Creating Magic on Amazon, and I asked Lee if he would, the author, Lee Cockerell, if he would be on the show. And I thought, what are the chances that the guy who ran Walt Disney World for a decade is going to come and be on a show for park rangers? What I didn't know, his sister-in-law had been a park ranger for 30 years at that point. He said, I love park rangers. I'll be on the show. So he was a guest once to talk about his book, Creating Magic. Then he came back to talk about his book, The Customer Rules. We got to talking about what we should do a show together. And then that show launched in 2014 and just took off. It's been a very successful show. And he's high profile. So it got my voice out there more, which led to even more podcasts. At my peak, I had 10 podcasts going at the same time. I've slowed down a bit. I think I'm at 6 right now. And that's just been it. The podcasting, that's what got me into podcasting. And it has been the backbone of everything I've done since then. And I know you know that, Ziv, how powerful it is and how it connects you to people. It's just wonderful.
It is. And this podcast, Beyond Six Figures, is my 9th podcast. I have been doing a totally new podcast about once a year. So the value of like just connecting with people is phenomenal. You actually connect in such a level, like in your story, Jody, that after interviewing someone and connecting with them a couple of times, they asked you, come back, we want to do something together. They launched a life-changing podcast that is educational, that is meaningful, that is on a topic that you understand on and they understand on, and you created something magical that is new. And nowadays, you actually help other people and business owners in getting their podcast magic out there and impacting their businesses through podcasting. So first, I want to ask you, who should actually consider, what type of businesses could actually benefit from launching a podcast?
All right. My answer to that, and we'll go into this, is it's probably more businesses than you think. Because when you hear Ziv and I talk, you would think, okay, well, they're with the work they do, yes, of course they should have a podcast. But what if let's just say a realtor. I live in a small town, about 10,000 people. If I was a real estate agent in this town, I would have a podcast that talks about everything going on in this town and the news and some history. Because if somebody's turning to me to learn about the town and it's time to buy or sell a house, who are they going to think of? They're going to think of me. If I was a home builder, I would consider one. A real estate agent, I mean, it's nearly unlimited. I was going to say it's unlimited on who should have one. But I just think that, as an example, I worked on a show one time that was a set number of episodes where we went into it knowing it's only going to be this many episodes. And even if that's all you do, so you're a realtor and you do a 12-part series about your town, talk about different neighborhoods, talk about history, downtown, and it's a 12-part series and that's it, and you just leave it out there, it'll be out there forever. It's just marketing that helps people find you and learn something new in the process.
So true. And it's crazy how people actually use the podcasting as a tool to learn new stuff. So they actually look for it. And you're exposing yourself to people that are not necessarily are the same people on social media that already saw your post and they're not really doing anything with that doesn't generate any leads anymore. This is like a new group of people that are very interested in what you do and are actually actively listening to you. You're in their head for a good 30 or 60 minutes every week, potentially even more. So
yeah.
what's the process when you work with a client? What does it look like? Do you have is it an online course? Is it a coaching service? Is it a group thing? What's your modality in helping people get into podcasting?
Well, when it comes to podcasting, I'd help people launch a lot of shows, working with them one-on-one. And eventually, as I got busier with other work, I couldn't do that quite as much as I used to. So I started like a group program where, okay, I've got spots for 10 people. If you want to launch a podcast, come and join me. We'll meet every week and we'll get your podcast launched. I tried that for a while. It went really good. Got several shows launched that way. Eventually, though, I took everything that I knew and I've put it into 3 courses so I can help people launch shows without actually being there with them. I've got Podcast Magic, which is a show about how to have a great podcast, all the little things that go in to making your show magic. I've got Podcast Interview Magic, which is about being a great guest on a show. Oh, no, that's Podcast Guest Magic, how to be a great guest on a show. Because that is the one of the best ways to get people to listen to your show is to be on other shows, because if you like what I say when I'm talking to Ziv, maybe you'll come over and listen to the Jody Maberry show. And then the third course is Podcast Interview Magic, how to do great interviews. So that's what I did. I took everything I knew about those 3 topics and I put them into 3 different courses. And now I don't have to be with people to help them launch a show. So you'll see there was an evolution there. Working with people one-on-one, I could only do so much of that. So now I'll do it in groups, and I could only do so much of that. So then I created the courses. And now it gives me 3 different ways to work with people. It's been a while since I've done one of the group sessions to help people launch shows. But the good thing about that is they meet other people. They actually get a lot of good feedback. So those are the 3 ways that I've done it. But I will say that now, like if I'm working with an executive and they want a show, then that one is very much high touch by me, where I'm involved in everything in the process along the way to make sure they have a great show. And often I end up hosting those. Sometimes I don't, but I still work with them every step along the way to make sure they have a great show and that it gets launched and they don't have much to worry about.
So let's talk a little bit about how people find your courses and join them. Naturally, the podcast plays a big role in them learning about your ecosystem, learning about Jody Maberry and trying to kind of be in touch and maybe get some help. Maybe they download the free guide first. But can you run us through what happens next? How do they find out that they can actually learn by themselves with your programs?
Well, there's a couple of ways that I do it. One is I'll be on a podcast like I am right now, and I'll talk about it. So that's number one. Number two is on my website, I've got a guide called Podcast Magic, which is to help someone plan out their first 10 episodes and get started. And then I will follow up with people there and say, hey, if you need help, here's a course. It allows you to do more. And then on my own podcast, I will strategically have episodes that will perhaps make someone think, hey, I should have a podcast. And if you think that, well, guess who can help you out with that? Or I'll have podcasts about being a guest on podcasts. And so I'll use my own podcast and my email list to always just tickle the idea that, hey, if you want a podcast, I can help with that.
So you don't actually need, as a business owner, to spend money on advertising. Is that correct?
Well, you certainly could. That's a good option. My approach has always been more like what we're doing. I just show up where I can and have conversations about it.
Let's talk for a second about this idea of producing an interview podcast versus producing a non-interview podcast. What's your view on this for business reasons?
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to interview podcasts, the business reasons to do interview based: one, it grows your network. Two, it associates your name with the name of the person you're interviewing. That's always good. And three, you may end up stumbling into a topic in a direction that you may not have thought of. So let's say you are a realtor and you end up doing an episode about roofing, and the guy who owns the roof company talks about something you had no idea. Okay, so now you have just learned something new. I think those are the three big reasons to have an interview-based podcast for your business. Now, non-interview based, monologue style podcast. I will tell you that my favorite reason for that, if you have to show up every week with something to say, you learn how to talk about the topic of which you're an expert in a way that you never would have before. Even if no one listens to your show, you will benefit for this very reason, that you have to keep coming up with something to say, and then you learn how to talk about it, and you learn how to tell stories about it, and you'll get a feel for what works. You really start to learn what you know, why you know it, and how to talk about it. And I think that is probably the most overlooked reason to do a monologue style podcast.
I love it. I love how you analyzed the benefits on both sides with the monologue and the interview. And a lot of times, at least I remember on the first podcast I launched, I felt such an honor to interview all these like heroes of an industry. And it felt almost like I'm getting like the best coaching program in the world. I'm getting like these ideas from all these experts, and I'm constantly being exposed to like what actually works in an industry. So it really opens up doors that you never know in advance that they will open. And that's true for any piece of content that you put up your heart and soul and produce. It will open up opportunities for your business that you really never know that they will happen. Just like in your story with business.
Yeah, that's a great illustration of it. I started a podcast for park rangers, opened a door with someone from Disney, and it's gone places I never could have imagined. That is perhaps one of the best things about podcasting. You just don't know. You think you can plan out what it'll be a year from now, but you really have no idea. It will open doors that you don't expect, and that it just turns out to be so fun. Podcasting is a lot of work. Viv can attest to that. It is a lot of work, but it's fun work if you're doing it the right way, if you're talking to people you enjoy, if you're talking about topics you enjoy. Then the hard work piece doesn't seem as big of a deal because you're just having a lot of fun doing it.
A lot of time, just like you said, the things that needs to be done, the work, the hard work, it actually is technical stuff that once you know how to do it, it's not that hard actually. The hard part is to get started. And sometimes people are afraid of the one thing that is the best part of podcasting, which is the conversations. The conversations are really like, I never get tired of meeting another person and learning about their journey. And I'm an introvert. I don't go and do a lot of like big parties, and I like to my group of friends. I don't need new friends when I'm in public. But right now, I feel connected to your story. I feel honored to have this conversation with you, and I'm just enjoying every minute of it. So I want to ask you, Jody, is it something that is like very expensive to produce a podcast?
No, not at all. I've done 2,600 episodes on a microphone that costs about $70. And if you're really into tech, then you can spend as much money as you like. You can have some really impressive studio equipment. I have a $70 microphone, and it's what I've always done. Now, part of the reason I do that illustrate what Ziv just asked, that it is not expensive. And I prove it by using the same microphone I have used for 12 years now, and it doesn't cost very much. And I do that so I can say, guess what? Podcasting doesn't cost very much. Now, you can spend as much as you want, and you can get by with very little. You could put together a podcast studio, and I use studio very loosely, for under $200 and have just a quality show. Now, you could also spend $6,000 if that's what you want to do. And I'm always testing out new stuff, and just seeing, okay, does this help my workflow? Does this not help my workflow? And I found new pieces of equipment over the years that I like and have started using. But you really can get started inexpensively. And if you stick with it, then you can consider, okay, I want to upgrade my microphone, or I want to get a certain recorder, or something like that. But stick with it, I think, is the key to mention, because 50% of shows never make it past episode 10. So make it to episode 11 and then maybe reward yourself with some better equipment. But no, you can get started very inexpensively.
Yeah. And I also always am shocked at how affordable it is to actually produce the episode. Audio editing is relatively easy to learn and also is actually not that expensive. When you compare that to video editing, where the videographer might not be with the same vision that you have, the prices of video production, for example, for like a YouTube show of sorts, can go through the roof, and it's very easy to spot any problems in your video production. But with audio production, the expectations is so reasonable. They don't mind if you hear a cat in the background, if you hear a bus occasionally, suddenly. Like, I interview people and they don't have a microphone that is fancy, and we could hear them fine and enjoy the conversation and learn something from it. So it's just very affordable also in the production level on the ongoing fees, not just the initial setup. Do you these days, though, because you've been doing this for so many years, do you use a team these days to help you in your production?
I do now, and mainly because I have so many shows going. And when 10 years ago, I just came up with a good system, and I used to do it myself, a good procedure on how to produce shows. Then I added an editor, and then I added show note writers, and then I added someone to help with production. I used to do it all myself. I can do it all myself. I just choose not to because I don't need to anymore. So I think there's two ways to look at it. If you want to keep costs down and be more on an intimate level with the shows you're producing, you can do it all yourself. If you say, I just want to record and I don't want to do much beyond that, there are options where you can record and not do much beyond that.
And where can people go if they want to learn more about your programs and your shows?
Well, I would start with jodymaberry.com. That's my home on the web. Anything you want to find about me is there. The Podcast Magic Guide is there. You can get it for free. Just enter your email and it'll be sent right to you. That is a great place, even if you already have a show. That's a good thing to look over just to get some additional ideas on what you're doing and how to come up with episodes. So start there, jodymaberry.com.
And one last tip, if you had to help a fellow podcaster, what would you suggest that they do to get more interviewees on their show?
To get more interviewees on their show, well, you will be surprised, I think, how many yeses you will get just by asking. But here's the way to get some. If you think, oh, there's a name I probably couldn't get. I'd love to interview this person, but I probably can't. Well, people that you wouldn't even expect will talk to nearly anybody if they have a book coming out. The promotion for books is relentless and nonstop. So if there's someone you want on your show and you haven't been able to get them, or you don't think you can, wait until they have a book to promote. It's a great way to reach out and get someone on your show. And then actually read the book. A lot of podcasters don't. If you don't have time, at least read a portion of the book. It means so much to the author that you have read their book, and they will remember that. And it will make for a better interview. So find someone who's coming out with a book, read the book. It'll be a great experience, and then that will open more doors for you.
I love it. Such a great way to end the show today with a winning tip from Jody Maberry. Jody, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing with us your journey and your insights. And thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Beyond Six Figures.
Thanks for listening to Beyond Six Figures. Check out the extended show notes that include bonus material, practical tips, and exclusive resources on our website, zivraviv.com. Until next time, keep dreaming big and pushing your business and your life beyond six figures.